WisdomWolf back. We've got more chilling scares. Our square 8 most disturbing things discovered in forest, my boy. Let's check it out. Most disturbing things discovered in forests. One day y'all are going to learn to stop going into bushes and forests and bro, stay in your houses.
James Schoeffler was a U.S. Forest Service officer in Utah.
He has a business to do in the forest. This one doesn't count.
In April of 2012, he was conducting a routine patrol of a popular scenic hiking trail deep in the forest. He was about halfway through his walk when he noticed a tripwire strung between 2 trees at the entrance of a small deadwood shelter along the trail. He followed the wire and was led to a ball made of rocks and sharpened sticks hanging in the air.
Yo, what in God's green earth? Who is... This is on some zombie apocalypse preparation type shit. What?
Which was set to fall when the tripwire was hit.
Who is this
After
man
further
aiming
inspection,
for?
another trap was found at a second entrance to the small shelter. This one was a bed of sharpened sticks placed facing upward in the ground.
Whoever is living at the end of all these traps has to be arrested. Not because he committed a crime, because he's going to commit... because he committed a crime because he's obviously running from someone.
Again, a tripwire was set in front of it, which this time was pulled tight and would have forced a person to fall directly into the sticks. Police were called and informed of the dangerous and potentially deadly traps. Soon they would begin conducting interviews of hikers in the area within the last few days, and surprisingly, this would lead them to 2 teenagers. They would confess to setting them up, however they argued the traps were set for animals.
Bro, you do not set
Police
those
would not
traps
buy
for
this.
animals, bro.
The nature of the traps was clearly made for a person.
Bro.
Plus, they were set way too close to a popular hiking trail that receives a lot of traffic. More specifically, at the entrances to a small shelter, which easily would have attracted a curious child or unsuspecting tourist.
Bro, people just be bored and do the most outrageous... Because tell me why you would leave your job, you would leave your house in the morning, you go into a hiking trail and you start setting up traps. And those traps weren't to capture, those were straight...
In 2017, Ivan, a 30-year-old man from Russia, abruptly went missing on a solo hike in the Shatura district of Moscow. When he initially didn't come back, his family reported his absence to the police, and a search of the surrounding woods later commenced. But no results came from this search, and it was eventually called off with no findings whatsoever. Fast forward 2 years later to 2019, and a hiker in the same area called in to report the found remains of a human skeleton halfway buried under leaves. This human skeleton was later confirmed to be of Ivan. What makes the finding so disturbing, though, is what was found with the skeleton. Tied to the remains and nearby trees were multiple sets of handcuffs, locks, and chains.
Oh my god, bro. Nah. They really tortured him, bro. And to think bro left his house that morning, just said, let me just go for this hike and then I'll come back.
Ivan's tent was found close to the scene, leading police to believe he was attempting an isolated Houdini-type escape, chaining himself up and trying to free himself without any...
Oh! You did it to yourself! Ouch! You're not really wise, are you?
help.
Ouch!
And that this ultimately went horribly wrong. One of his friends even later stated that this type of stunt was something he could see Ivan doing, as he would often practice survival skills in extreme conditions. But others believe Ivan was murdered, and that the crime scene was simply set up after the fact so that it would look like it was a tragic accident.
No, he did it to himself. He definitely did it to himself. He locked himself up trying to escape. Why would you even do that when you're alone? But okay, you locked yourself up trying to escape. Probably practicing magic to impress people. And then you couldn't escape. And there was nobody to help. And you were stuck. Nah.
Ivan's official cause of death hasn't been determined. It's May of 2016. A man is walking a private forest trail in Harlan County in Kentucky. Suddenly, he sees something on the ground just slightly off the trail path. He gets closer and sees it's a trail camera. Trail cameras are waterproof outdoor cameras that are typically motion activated, with the purpose being to record wildlife. Most of them even have night vision capabilities. They're a somewhat common sight in the forest, so the man didn't give much thought to the discovery. Although, this camera didn't have any memory card or batteries inside. It looked like it was abandoned, and so the man decided to take it with him. Later, the man recalls giving the camera to a friend. When his friend put batteries in the camera, an explosion immediately went off inside of it.
Oh shit.
The trail camera was rigged with explosives that were set to go off the second batteries were installed. The explosion was large enough to blow off some of the man's fingers and cause injury to his stomach.
Oh! Rule number 1. You're walking in the forest. Don't take stuff that's not yours. Oh, but just took an explosion made for another person.
Police launched an investigation and found another camera on the trail rigged to explode.
Nah.
Eventually, the cameras were traced back to a man named Mark Sawaf, who was
They always look like this. They always look like this, and then they are caught and their mugshot even looks
immediately identified as a suspect. Police were granted a search warrant to his home, and there they found all the equipment used to create the explosives, along with a note that read, "Broken camera for a broken soul."
Fuck you, man. What the hell? Why would you even make something like that? You just, do you get the reasoning of this? Broken camera for a broken soul. That means he was expecting someone to take it. Take it, you put camera, if you steal it. Obviously it's stealing if you steal it because it's not yours, and then you try to use it, you get blown to heaven. You get blown to shiverings, bro. Like, it is such a weird. How do you even think of doing something?
Mark was taken into custody.
Arrest him,
Meanwhile,
put
more
him under
reports
the
of
jail,
exploding
bro.
cameras around the area were coming in. In response, police would take Mark back out into the forest and have him detail the locations of the remaining live explosive devices. But while in the forest with police, Mark would lunge at one of the officer's pistols in a last-ditch effort to get away. The physical altercation would result in Mark being fatally shot. Mark never revealed where his remaining trail cameras were before his death.
Oh, we got a bunch of people that are going to randomly boom boom poof.
Although, police believe there are numerous others within a 5-mile radius of those Kentucky woods, all of which just waiting to be discovered by some unfortunate person.
Can they go search for it? Because that is so weird, bro.
In July of 1968, a group of women were at a picnic table near their lake house at Lake Michigan. They were playing cards together and having a good time when they were interrupted by an overbearing stench. It got so bad that the women began struggling to breathe, forcing them to cut their game short. They assumed a dead animal must have been nearby, and not knowing what else to do, they alerted their cabin's caretaker, Chauncey Bliss. Chauncey headed out to those woods, but instead of finding a dead animal, he followed the stench to another cabin he oversaw around half a mile away. He forced himself through the horrible odor closer towards the front door, but he quickly realized something was wrong. He noticed holes in the glass of the windows.
Oh, they don't lit it
He
up.
glanced inside one of them and saw a woman's remains lying on the floor. Behind her, he
Someone lit it up.
caught a glimpse of several others in the same manner. Horrified, Chauncey ran away and called the police. Police arrived at the scene, and a total of 6 bodies were discovered. It was every member of the Robeson family.
Oh, they look like the Adams family. Who is this man in the middle? This dude in the middle looks like he's the one that did it.
No one had seen them in weeks, but the family had told others they were planning on a trip out of town, therefore no one questioned it. Police concluded that they had been killed at least a month earlier. Investigations into who could have done this didn't turn up much. There wasn't much evidence at the scene, and the family didn't have any known enemies. The most prominent suspect was an employee of Mr. Robeson, but this man would never be tried in court.
Why?
50 years later, it's still unknown who's responsible for the Robeson family murders.
Bro, they just lit the place up, my boy.
Matt Bell and a coworker
That's
were doing
crazy.
excavation work in the woods of Danville, Arkansas, when they came across a 32-pound old round ball in the ground. Matt thought it was an old cannonball from the Civil War and decided to take it home with him.
No, it's not.
The thing was dark.
Stop taking things from the forest. Oh my god. Go there, see the woods, see the leaves, see the trees, and you go back to your house. Go back to where you own things. The things in the forest do not belong to you. Someone took a trail camera from the forest and blew half his body to smithereens. Now you found a ball. Even if it's a cannonball, it's not your cannonball. Let it lie, bro. Let it be.
Dirty, and so he pressure washed the ball to try and clean it up a bit.
I bet it's a bum.
While he was drying it on his counter, he snapped some pictures of it. The next day, he went to a Civil War museum to verify the object's authenticity. This is where he was informed that it wasn't a cannonball at all, rather a Civil War era pressure-activated landmine that was still active.
People just go inside bush and pick things that are not your own. Tell me why he carried it to his house. Did they write, he found, carry with you? What is your problem?
Matt was forced to take the explosive back home where he called police. 20 homes in the nearby area were evacuated, and a bomb squad was called in.
Was it that big?
The explosive was carefully taken to a landfill where it was safely set off. Matt recalls his coworkers throwing the mine to him out of a ditch when they first found it. That, along with multiple car rides and being pressure washed, Matt is extremely lucky the landmine didn't explode.
No, go back to the forest and pick things. Like, you do not even... Why you carry stone from the forest and start washing it? And don't you people have jobs, or is this cost of living crisis not getting to everybody? But I don't get it, bro. Why did you carry a ball from the forest and start washing it?
Load on him. In July of 2016, a construction worker was doing routine maintenance on the right lane of a section of road on Interstate 985 located in Georgia. At one point during his shift, the man had to relieve himself, and so he started walking into the forest just next to him.
Now,
Got about 80 yards in when he noticed a large
That's a valid reason to go in the forest.
object on the ground. As he got closer, he realized it was a suitcase. Curious, he zipped it open. Inside, he saw a human skull.
America, America, America.
Immediately, the man ran back to the highway and told his supervisor, who then told the police. When they arrived, the man showed them to the suitcase. A full set of bones were discovered along with the skull.
What?
Later analysis would reveal them to be of a woman, most likely in her 20s or 30s at the time of death. It's assumed she died around 6 months before the discovery.
Oh.
Fast forward to 2019.
Oh, do you know how bad it has to be for them to be able to fit the person in the suitcase? Whoever did it, cut it up.
Police now believe they've identified the woman as Jessica Mancini from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh my gosh, she was so pretty too, though.
She was originally reported missing by her mother back before the suitcase's discovery.
I bet it's the boyfriend.
However,
bro.
how she died, or who was responsible, are both still unknown to this
It
day.
has to be the boyfriend, bro.
In 1986, 19-year-old Christopher Knight vanished from his home in Maine to live in the woods for no apparent reason.
This is so retro.
For food, Christopher would steal from dozens of different cottages and camps around the area. During his break-ins, he would also take things like clothing, camping gear, propane tanks, batteries, and other stuff.
What were you planning for?
People in the area were quickly made aware of his presence. Some even started intentionally setting out supplies for the guy just so he wouldn't break into their homes during the night. But even though his means of living were pretty well known in the area, if one thing was certain, he did not want to be found. Christopher went to extreme lengths to cover his tracks. For example, he would opt to never start a fire so that the smoke wouldn't reveal his camp's position in the woods. Winters would get extremely cold at around 10 degrees Fahrenheit, but still Christopher didn't start a fire, instead opting to cover himself in multiple sleeping bags. But as the years passed,
how did they know this? How did they know all this?
And security cameras became more common, Christopher's break-ins would eventually start showing up on security camera footage. Finally, 27 years after he left his home in Maine, he unknowingly tripped a surveillance sensor while routinely stealing food from a camp. Police were alerted and showed up to the scene. Christopher was still there, and the first human contact he had in years would be him being arrested. Police had finally found and caught the man responsible.
The glasses, did his prescription change for the glasses?
For thousands of burglaries in the area.
Oh.
Eventually, Christopher would show police his camp. It was filled with decades worth of stolen goods. Christopher was ultimately given 7 months in jail and 3 years probation.
7 months. Only. Wait, what happened on my head like this? Bro, what the hell is up in my head? I might reach. Nah, I can't. Nah, I can't be balding. That's not even possible.
It's April 26th, 2021. The police department in Anchorage, Alaska receive a disturbing phone call. The caller reports a freezer in the forest, found buried halfway into the ground. Inside of it, a body. Police rush out to the scene and from the highway are led deep into the woods where the freezer was once again located. They opened it and were able to confirm the caller's claims. A few months later, police released more information about the finding. The man inside the freezer was 67-year-old Michael Tiefteller, who had lived nearby. Police were unable to identify how he was killed. It's also unknown when he was killed. He lived an isolated life. The last time he was known to be alive was 3 years prior in 2018. So really,
this is the problem with isolated lives, bro. This is the problem with isolating yourself, bro. Sometimes isolating yourself is like the best thing ever. It's so relaxing, it's so calming. You don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. But then you think about it. If something happens to you and no one has seen you for like 6 months, a year, they'll just be like, that's him. You know, he goes into his den and he just stays there isolated. So the fact that I haven't seen him isn't surprising. But if you are always, hey, yo, neighbor, what's good? Hey, yo, neighbor, what's good? And then after like 2 days, no one has heard you, hey, yo, neighbor, what's good? They are going to start asking questions. Yo, where's this dude? Where's that dude? I haven't seen that dude in a minute. A week goes back. This is strange. Did he travel? A month goes by. People are panicking. People are making calls. Even after a week, people have been making calls like, hey, yo, nigga, I ain't seen you in a minute, bro.
it could have been anywhere in that time frame. Whoever did this hasn't been found, and with nothing to go off of, this case was classified as cold, essentially from the beginning.
Bro, that's crazy, man. That's crazy, man. I feel bad for the old dude, bro. I feel bad for the old dude, bro. I'm not even gonna lie, man. Go follow Chilling Scares too, man. Follow this page too, bro. Sorry, subscribe. I'm gone.